Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Dear viewers, welcome to a new episode of Quran and Science. This is your host, Tamer Mumtaz. As usual, today with us is Professor Dr. Zaghloul Al-Najjar, Head of Committee on Scientific Facts in Glorious Quran, Supreme Council on Islamic Affairs. Also, our brothers Mustafa and Fuad. So, today we'll discuss with Dr. Zaghloul. Dr. Zaghloul, over 50 years of research, more than 40 books, and still, some scholars have their own reservations towards this approach of explaining Quran. Why is that, Doctor?
I begin by praising Allah, our Creator, the Creator of the universe, and of everything that's in it. And I greet you all and our viewers in our Islamic way. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. May Allah's peace, blessings, and mercy be with you all. The problem is multifold. And one of the main reasons of the queries that are raised against this approach is the fact that we have been under the pressure of dual education that came to us from the West. In the West, in the Renaissance period, the struggle between scientists and the clergy started. Yes. The clergy had all the power on education, on monetary funds, on the military, on
politics,
everything.
Yeah.
And they were trying to impose very primitive ideas about the creation of the universe, the creation of life, the creation of man on the scientists. And scientists had learned the scientific approach from the Islamic civilization.
Yes.
And when they started to apply it, they started to get in conflict with the church. Mm-hmm. This struggle went on for a number of centuries, and finally scientists achieved victory over the church.
Yes.
And as a result of this victory, the science in the West has taken the approach of being purely materialistic, negating anything that cannot be seen and touched by hand.
Yes. But how was this copied to us?
It came to us from the West, you see. It came to us from as a result of transferring some of the Western ideas.
Along with everything else.
The group of scientists in the West took this purely materialistic approach, negating religion, negating Allah, negating God, negating messengers of God, negating revealed books. And they say science is moral free, science is religion free, science has nothing to do with the supernatural world.
Yes.
And because of this materialistic approach, scientists achieved lots of successes.
Yes.
In the material sphere. But we know that the philosophy of sciences is a level higher than the material sciences. And humanities should come above the philosophy of sciences.
Yes.
And then philosophy at large, meaning the love of wisdom, applying any piece of knowledge or skill Allah has given you to know your Creator, to understand your message in life. And the peak of the pyramid of human knowledge is the revelation from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the divine guidance to man in areas that cannot be correctly addressed by man. Mm-hmm. So due to this dualism in the West, they had clerical studies completely isolated from the scientific studies. And this ailment came to us with the Western imperialism and colonialism.
Yes.
This type of education was imposed upon us.
Yes.
While throughout the Islamic civilization, we had no such separation. You could find a scholar of the Quran who's an astronomer,
Yes.
or a scholar of hadith
Yes.
who's a physician.
Yes.
You see, and so on. So we never had that separation. But as a result of imposing the Western culture on the Muslim world, we had this dualism in education.
Yes.
We had Islamic studies in which people can excel and do their best,
Yes.
but they keep themselves away from any scientific achievement. And we have civil studies, medicine, engineering, sciences, economics, administration, and the rest, that have completely isolated themselves from Islamic studies.
Yes.
Due to this dualism, Islamic scholars can never see any value in science. They think that science is alien to religion.
Certain Islamic scholars.
Not
Not all Islamic scholars.
A large
Yes.
sector of them. you
Yes,
see.
okay.
They believe that due to the material approach of scientists in the West,
Yes.
all the conclusions appear to be anti-religion,
Oh.
to be against religion. And that's why they left their interest came
Yeah, they
completely
chose
away
to
from...
keep it away, just
keep
to
it
be,
away.
to be in the safe
to be
side.
on the safe side. You
Yes.
see. At the same time, scholars in the civilian studies,
Yes.
they have no time to look into religion. They have no time to study their religion properly. And that's why they become completely isolated from it. And they don't think that there could be any value, even among the believing ones, even among the practicing ones, you see. They don't see any value in using scientific knowledge to understand the Holy Quran or the saying of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So you can find these two categories. Islamic scholars in being absolutely honoring the Holy Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they don't want to touch it with any of the gained knowledge by man. And you can find scholars in the civilian studies that don't think that they have enough knowledge to deal with the Quran in their own fields of study. And as a result, both sides cannot see any value in putting scientific facts within the tafsir, within exegesis of the Quran, or trying to explain cosmic verses in the Holy Quran. And what I'm doing is that I'm trying to bridge that gap.
Yes.
Trying to bring to the Islamic scholars the value of applying scientific facts in explaining the cosmic verses in the Holy Quran, as the language alone is not enough.
Yes.
And at the same time, encourage scholars in the field of civil studies, look into your Quran. If you are a good Muslim and a believing Muslim, look into your Quran and see how many verses in your own particular area of specialization has come with knowledge, unprecedented, knowledge that nobody knew before, knowledge that has just been reached a few decades ago. Yes. And by doing this, we are bringing the Islamic civilization once more to its solid roots, without this dual education or dual separation between scholars specialized in Islamic studies alone, without knowing anything about the main gains of scientific knowledge, and scholars in the area of science and technology who know very little about their Islam.
Yes, indeed. I think Brother Mustafa has
actually,
a question.
Yes, actually, from what I understood of your talk right now, that you're trying to bridge between the two schools.
Yes.
The two schools.
Yes.
One school that have their own reservation, as we're saying, and one school that are trying to mingle the two things together.
Yes.
Is that what you're trying to tell us?
Yes.
Right.
You see, I don't want, of course, I honor specialization. Specialization is very highly needed in an era of expansion of knowledge. We need specialization. But I put the human knowledge in the form of a pyramid. And the base of that pyramid is pure and applied sciences. Not belittling its value or importance, because it is the means of achieving your role as a good vicegerent on earth. To be a good vicegerent on earth, you have to know the laws of Allah in this universe and apply them to make life as happy as possible and as easy and as enjoyable as possible. But of course, to revolve only within the material framework of science is as if you are enclosing yourself in a steel jacket that can isolate you from seeing what's above that.
Yes, it is.
And that's why I say philosophy of sciences is a much higher level of knowledge than pure and applied sciences. And just to give an example, if I tell people that we are living in a vast, immense, orderly universe, and this universe is running perfectly according to certain plans and certain rules, and keep silent after that, I haven't done justice to this observation. Unless I use this observation to conclude that this vast, immense, orderly universe cannot be the product of an accident or a chance. It cannot have produced itself by itself, but it needs a creator. And this creator has to be above both matter and energy, above both space and time. He has to be exalted above all his creation. And unless I use this creation to know something about the qualities of the creator, I have not done justice to this little piece of information. Above that, I find the humanities, because man is an honored being in Islam. And anything related to that honored being has to be honored. Languages and their literature, arts of all kinds and shapes, what they call economics, geography, administration, social sciences in general, all these have to come above material sciences and their philosophy, because they are directly connected with man, and man is the most honored creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Above that comes philosophy at large. And philosophy in Islam means the love of wisdom. Loving wisdom means what? You have to find wisdom in anything you know, anything you see, anything you do. And unless you see above the material framework of things, something above it, you will never understand your role in this life and never can fulfill it successfully and justifiably. At the peak of the pyramid is the revealed knowledge, because all the divine messages to man come in areas that cannot be correctly addressed by man, areas that Allah in his eternity knows that man cannot possibly produce right answers for himself in these areas, such as the area of faith, the area of acts of worshipping, the area of the moral code, and the area of the code of transactions with others. And these are the basic pillars or foundations of any revealed religion. And that's why this comes at the peak of the pyramid. Of course, nobody can excel in all these areas. You have to specialize in a level of any of these 4 basic areas or 5 basic areas. But you should never ever exclude yourself from knowing something about the rest of the areas. Otherwise, you will be contained in your own specialization, and you can never see or understand your real message in this world.
Okay, thank you, Doctor. We'll be going into a short break now, and we'll continue after the break. Thank you.
Allah the Most High and Merciful says, "Invite to the way of your Lord with wisdom and fair preaching." Do you want to join Huda in calling to Allah? Do you want to spread the message like the prophets did? Do you want to share in the blessings and rewards? Why not support Huda towards these noble aims? Why not sponsor a program of your choice? If you would like to help Huda in spreading the correct message of Islam, please send an email to support@huda.tv or call +2 014 327 1771 for more details, or fax +2 023 855 251.
viewers, welcome back. Dr. Zaghloul, we would like to know, what are the regulations and conditions governing your study? What is the framework you're working through?
You see, of course, there is no procedure that can be carried out correctly without regulations.
Yes.
And of course, we have a very large set of regulations that control your behavior if you are dealing with scientific science in the Holy Quran. First of all, you have to understand the linguistic meaning of the verse.
Yes.
Because the Quran was sent down to us in Arabic. And unless I understand the meaning of every word, the grammatic controls and regulations of the Arabic language, the way of expression in the Arabic language, unless I understand that, I cannot understand the verse. I have to understand the circumstances under which the verse was revealed.
Yes.
Asbab al-nuzul.
The reasons of revelation.
The reasons of revelation.
Yes.
I have to understand that, because this can enlighten me, can enlarge my scope, can enlarge my vision into the verse. Thirdly, I have to see if the Prophet ﷺ has said anything concerning this particular verse. Because if the Prophet ﷺ has given an opinion about the verse, nobody else can add anything to it.
Of course.
See, because he is the one directly connected with the revelation, and he knows what's meant by every verse. Thirdly, I have to collect all the efforts of the previous mufassirin, previous scholars who worked on the exegesis of this verse.
Yes.
What did they say in it? Fourthly, I cannot go beyond the world, the seen world. I don't indulge into areas that are 100% in the domain of the unseen. I cannot talk about the identity of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I cannot talk about the reality of the ar-ruh, the spirit.
Yes.
I cannot talk about the angels. I cannot talk about life in the grave. I cannot talk about accountability in the grave. I cannot talk about resurrection, about exposure in front of Allah on the Day of Judgment, paradise and hell. All these areas are 100% in the domain of the unseen. And unless I receive guidance from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or from His Prophet in these areas, I have no power, I have no knowledge to reach this. So I cannot touch these areas in the area of scientific commentary of the Holy Quran. Yes. Also, I have to only use proved, established scientific facts. I don't use theories. I don't use anything below the level of a fact or a rule.
Yes.
Scientific rule. Because if you use a theory and it has proved to be wrong, then you have defeated your own purpose. Yes. So I have to stick to the application of scientific facts or scientific rules in the exegesis or explanation or commentary on a cosmic verse in the Holy Quran. After that, you have to be a specialist in the area. You see, because I do consider this to be a higher specialization.
Yes.
You have to be a specialized person in your own field. And you have the knowledge of the Arabic language and of the Quran, so that you can do that, you see.
So, Doctor, your major is geology,
yes,
right? And your PhD was in geology
yes,
also.
Yes.
So, did you make further studies like in grammar or in Islamic studies?
Definitely.
Or do you use assistance from professionals?
No. I did my own studies myself.
Yes.
And I recall that I went into a competition in my last year in high school, a competition in the Arabic language, and I came top on all Egypt. And my Arabic teacher was in the competition, and I really excelled him. I was above him in this graduation. So, alhamdulillah, I got my knowledge of the Arabic language, my knowledge of Islamic studies, which were gained throughout time, throughout many years.
Yes.
So I have to add this to my scientific knowledge and go into trying to explain the cosmic verse in the Holy Quran in a more up-to-date way than the previous Mufassirin have done.
Yes.
Because the Prophet ﷺ is quoted to have said, إن هذا القرآن لا تنتهي عجائبه ولا يخلق على كثرة الرد. This Quran, its miracles can never come to an end, And the more you look into it, the more you can see something new in it. And this has to be the practice of Muslims throughout time, because you can never come to an end of understanding the meaning of the Quranic
Before
verses.
we skip this point, the more you look into it, you found other things other than the other scholars have found.
Definitely.
But you yourself, the
Yes.
more, sometimes you look into an ayah, into a verse of Quran, and then you yourself look in it again, and then you find
Yes,
new...
yes, indeed.
Yes.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, because this is one of the most miraculous aspects of the Holy Quran.
Yes.
You can never come to an end with understanding the meaning of the verse.
Yes.
So you have to be a specialist in the field. You have to use your own specialization. Don't use generalizations, because this cannot be used in this area. And I have to differentiate between a scholar who has verified a particular ayah and a scholar who is quoting him.
Yes.
You have to be very, very careful with this, you see, because to verify a scientific precedence in a Quranic verse, you have to be up to date, highly specialized in the field, encompassing the knowledge of the time.
Very credible.
You have to be up to date with it,
Yes,
you see,
yes.
to prove that the Quran has preceded human knowledge in that particular area. So these are some of the rules and regulations which we have to bind ourselves with it once we are dealing with the scientific verses in the Holy Quran.
Yes. I think Brother Fuad has a question.
Yeah, with these reservations present, how can a normal Muslim take these, your explanation of these verses? How would you advise him towards taking it? Because they would know
Yes.
that the scholars of Islam, they have reservations.
Yes.
And they might say, I might want to doubt you.
Yes.
You understand? So how can you say to them?
You see, one of the crises of the time is that man has developed materially to a level that was not preceded in the past. We have fantastic development in the area of science and technology. And sadly enough, this is accompanied by a recession in the area of religion, in the area of moral binding, in the area of the proper conduct between people. And really, man this time needs a religion more than any other time, because scientific development and technological advances can be misused in oppressing other nations, in destroying other cultures, in opposing your people you don't know. Really, you can use this. Unless you fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and unless you realize that you will die one day, and you will be held responsible for your actions and deeds in this life, you can really, the shaitan can tempt you to use this power to oppress others, to transgress over the limits of others, to impose injustices on others. And that's why I do believe that the human community needs Islam today more than any other time, because at least in the past people were simple, their relationship with each other were simple, they were not connected with each other as closely as it is today. And that's why I do believe that civilizations integrate, they don't fight, they don't struggle. You see, the call in America and in the West today is the struggle between civilizations. No, human civilizations integrate and interact with each other, and they use the best of each other, you see, so that they can develop humanity. But if you call on segregating humans into different levels, fighting against each other, the struggle between civilizations, then you can destroy this world in no time. And that's why I do believe that the main cause or the main reservations some Muslim scholars have against this practice is that the main givings of science and technology are purely materialistic, are sometimes anti-religion, are sometimes contradicting basic Islamic rules and regulations. Most scientists in the West do not believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They don't believe in a creator. They don't believe in the world to come. They don't believe in accountability, in judgment, in eternity. They don't believe in it because they never had the chance to know it. And that's why it is our obligation as Muslims to carry that religion, that divine guidance to man, the only form of divine guidance that has been kept intact in exactly the same language of revelation, word to word and letter to letter, to as many people as we can. And as I said, really reservations from some Muslim scholars should not impede me from doing this, should stop me from doing this, because I see the world drowning. Really, the world is facing a big crisis. The amount of weapons of mass destruction in the rivalries in the world are more than enough to destroy this whole planet. So Muslims are called upon to use their religious knowledge, that divine guidance that remained intact, and try to give it to as many people as possible. Not in a way of imposition, because we believe in Islam that there should never ever be any compulsion in religion. We believe in Islam that out of the dignity of man, Allah has given every single human being the free will to choose his beliefs as freely as he likes. So not in a way of imposition, but in a way of love, of this brotherhood and sisterhood in humanity. I would like to share with them what I have, which I'm sure they don't have. And we can only save humanity through explaining Islam to others in a language they can understand. And as I said previously, the only common language between people of our time is science.
And Doctor, do you see now that the scholars, the new scholars, they're more accepting of this approach?
Oh, definitely.
Very
Definitely.
good.
At least, you see, Islam is being fought against in many spheres because people don't know it. All the media in the West and in the East are attacking Islam. There are lots of plots are being ployed against Islam. And we as Muslims have to explain Islam to others and have to give it to them in a language they can understand. Yes. And the language they can understand is the scientific language. And there was not a single conference on scientific notions in the Quran anywhere in the world without one or two or three scholars standing up and accepting Islam in front of the gathering.
Yes.
And this itself has its own impact on the morale of the people attending the meeting.
Yes.
Every person that accepts Islam in the West, through this dialogue or through other ways, because I'm not claiming that this is the only way, or this is one of the ways that are suitable to the time. Every human being who embraces Islam in the West or in the East or anywhere in the world, he can preach Islam to his own people in a way which we cannot do it. He knows the backgrounds, he knows the ins and outs, he knows the philosophy, the mentality, the psychology, and he can approach his own people, yes, or she can approach her own people in a much suitable way, yes, than we can do it.
Yes. Thank you, Professor Dr. Zaghloul Al-Najjar. Thank you very much. We have come to an end to our episode. Thank you, Mustafa. Thank you, Fuad. And inshallah, till next episode. Thank you.